What I want to do in this video is not so much sit here and tell you the specific things that you need to do in order to get rich, but it's more about the things that you don't realize that you're doing that actually prevent you from getting rich. If you haven't locked in and made a decent amount of money in these past few years, I mean, honestly, what the have you been doing? You've literally missed out on Bitcoin, crypto, Tesla, Amazon stock, Apple stock, I mean, whatever, and all these online business opportunities. You could have been a millionaire by now. You could have been retired. You could have saved your mother from being coursed by the labor market. You could literally keep your parents alive for even longer, and you're still refusing to try. And look, I know you're probably in a huge rush and you want me to get to the specific list of things, but just give me a little bit of time to explain this to you and to lay this out, because if I don't explain and actually lay all these things out for you, it's not really gonna make sense and you're not going to know how to actually apply these things. And by all means, if you can't focus for a couple minutes or you have a few minutes of patience, you might as well just click off this video now, because you're never going to be successful anyways. Like, let's just be real. Just save yourself some time, go watch some funny prank videos or something. But man, for the rest of you guys, if I knew these things sooner, I'd probably have an additional $10 million by now, in all honesty. I was able to make multi-millions of dollars by the age of 25, but I made so many mistakes from the period when I was like 17 to 23 that kind of prevented me from growing even quicker than I wish I did. The thing about your 20s that's super dangerous is that you have this excess amount of creativity and energy. It sounds great, but the thing about being so young is that you also have to factor in this a lack of stupidity and lack of experience that you actually have at that age. It's kind of like you're a race car driver who doesn't realize that you're drunk and you're driving around the track having tons of fun going 100 miles per hour, but you don't realize that you're drunk, which is why it's so dangerous. So the best thing to do is realize that you're very stupid and counteract that stupidity. But the best way to counteract that stupidity is by being extremely careful and like having both hands on the steering wheel and paying extra attention to the road, because you're that much more likely to crash and burn. That's kind of how it is being in your 20s. All right, so let's just get into it. The first thing you guys are gonna ask is, well, do I invest into crypto or do I start storing money in a savings account? No. Honestly, I hate the strategy of you're someone who doesn't have a ton of money and you're investing a little bit amount of money each month and that you're somehow going to grow that into multi-millions of dollars. Because that's how stupid I initially was. I mean, that's a great idea if you can wait until like you're 50 years old. But the strategy that has worked for me is that you get really good at making tons of money while you're young, and then you reinvest this money into other stuff like stocks, crypto, real estate, or whatever it is. Then you get to that point where you want to stop working, you'll still have a solid flow of income or this nest egg of investments built where you no longer have to actually work again if you don't want to. The thing that's going to really hold you back in your 20s is having this scarcity mindset. You don't really understand how money actually works and what's required of you to multiply your wealth. So you have this really weird inverse relationship when it comes to money in your 20s. You view money as the resource that's scarce and hard to come by, but you think of time being this thing that's excess and that you have an abundance of it, so you therefore have tons of time to spend, right? No. When you first start making money in your 20s, whether you get a job or start your first business and make tons of money like I did, one of the biggest mistakes that I made really early in my entrepreneurial journey is having this scarcity mindset when it came to money. And my main priority was only making money, and that every single dollar I made, I just wanted to hoard it and do everything possible to not let it go. I was very short-sighted when it came to money, and I would only focus on the things that had the most immediate benefit, as in the now. This basically becomes a really nasty habit. You basically avoid taking the risks that don't make you a ton of money in the short term, and you avoid the things that are clearly the best long-term decisions because, like I said, you have this very weird concept of how time actually works. You kind of think that you have this unlimited amount of time and that you could start being smarter down the road, or you could start delaying instant gratification for another time. And the thing that sucks is that this stems from you just being really young. So you lack life experience, and you don't really have your mind wrapped around this concept of how time actually works. When you're in your 20s, you haven't really experienced a whole lot of time on this planet, and you have a hard time understanding that there's another time other than just right now. This right now is not going to last that long, and that you don't have this infinite amount of it. It's only until you've experienced a ton of this time, or that you're so woke that you realize that there's a future destination where this version of you that's older is going to exist. So you have to be really conscious and aware of the decisions that you're making right now, because if you're making terrible financial decisions, or you're not taking as much risk as you'd like to, you're going to put that future version of yourself in a really bad spot, and it doesn't sound like fun, right? And because you haven't really experienced a ton of this time, you don't understand how the actions that you're making right now are affecting that older future version of yourself. Look, when you're 20 years old, the decisions that you were making at 10, you don't really see a connection between them. But when you're 30, you start seeing a massive connection from the decisions that you were making when you were 20. It's better for you to wake up and realize this right now, instead of getting to like 30 years old and then you start putting the pieces of the puzzle together from when you were 20 and being like, oh, The thing about money is that it's massively abundant. There's no shortage of it. You can always make more money. The thing you cannot make more of is time. And I think one of the biggest mistakes that I've made up to this point is waiting to get more experience before jumping into what I actually wanted to do. You kind of see this with college students getting jobs, which is what I realized. I went to school, and a lot of the students that I went to university with were just like, hey, I really want to get into this industry, but I'm going to work this job that's comfortable and easy in order to just get more experience. And for myself, for the past few years, I kind of put off jumping into this long-term, high-risk, high-reward vision of a company, because I would tell myself, oh, I want to get a little bit more experience before I jump in and do this thing that I actually want to do. And you need to get it through your head that it's really only going to take you about 3 to 6 months to get pretty good at something. You're not going to have it down 100%, and you're not going to have it mastered, but you're going to get to this level of experience and this level of confidence where you need to start, where you have enough experience that you need to start breaking out of your comfort zone. And the sooner that you can apply that, the more money that you're going to make earlier in your life. What I typically see happen to other mediocre entrepreneurs or young people in their 20s is that they find something that works, whether it's a basic business model or a job. And you're going to cling yourself and lock yourself into that because you have this short-term mindset when it comes to money. When I was like 18 or 19 years old, I was so stuck on working on the little businesses that would only make me $50,000 to $100,000 per year. And I kept putting off working on the business that was clearly the best decision over the 10-year period. And I would keep saying to myself, oh, I just keep doing this thing because I'm getting experience and I'm learning. And I didn't want to stop it because it was working, right? Even though it's not making me a ton of money right now, and it was only making me a little bit of money, it was working. So I just wanted to stick to it, right? No, wrong. That's like the complete opposite thing that you want to do. Focusing on what's working right now in the immediate moment is based on scarcity. When you're looking at the fact that money is replenishable and you can always make more of it, but the thing that is finite and that you can't get back more of is your time, 9 out of 10 times, you're always going to want to make those long-term decisions, because over the span of 5 to 10 years, the long-term decisions are the only thing that makes sense in your life. Even if these things don't work out because you only have a limited amount of time of these shots or 10-year decisions that you can make, you kind of understand that. So the sooner that you can start making these long-term decisions, and the sooner that you can wake up and start breaking out of your comfort zone, the earlier in your life that you're going to be able to put yourself in a better situation and increase your likelihood of getting insanely rich instead of just being in this mediocre financial position. So sticking to something that works or clinging to something for experience just because it's kind of working, that's exactly where most people are going to in their 20s. I had a pretty decent amount of money to be investing in these really big and ambitious construction real estate projects when I was like 20 or 21 years old. But because I was so scared of losing money or what if it didn't work out, and I was doing okay with my business, maybe I can take those higher risk investments later in my life. I wasn't being greedy. I was just being really stupid and working on the thing that was only making me $100,000 to $200,000 per year instead of working on the thing that can make me $10 million over the next 10 years. You need to be extremely comfortable with taking these crazy risks, and you need to start doing these even earlier in your life. Time is the thing that is limited. Money is not. If you lose your money, you can make the money back. Especially for somebody who's constantly pushing their comfort zone and constantly overcoming these challenges, you're going to reach this level of competency and entrepreneurship that personally I feel like I've reached, that where you get really good at business and you become very confident in your ability to generate money, where you're going to be able to make the money back even if you lose it all. So you're never actually going to hit this real rock bottom. And it's something that I was so afraid of, and it actually took me a little bit longer to understand this, because if I understood it sooner, I'd be much further along in my business and entrepreneurial journey. If there's something that you really believe in, even if it has the smallest chance of working, but the payoff is 100 to 1 or even 1,000 to 1, kind of like a Bitcoin situation, be okay with taking those risks every single time. I think around 2018, 2019, when Bitcoin was hovering between a couple $1,000s, I had a bunch of entrepreneur friends who kept talking about this Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Bitcoin and cryptocurrency thing. And I wasn't totally sure if it was going to work out, but I had like $20,000 saved up, and I literally just threw it in there. And looking back on it now, it's not really a good example because it's kind of like just gambling your money or doing a coin flip, but it ended up working out pretty well, right? So, I mean, I'm still here today and I'm still alive. But even in a worst case scenario situation, even if I lost all of that $20,000, I would still be able to make that money back. But the payoff of investing into something extremely risky like that, you kind of have to compare it as like a once in a lifetime opportunity that doesn't really come around that often. Basically, don't be afraid to take those crazy risks that may not work out over the next 3 to 5 years, but they're going to work out over the next 10 years. Every billionaire or every person who's worth hundreds of millions or billions, like Bezos, Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, they took insane risks. And if they're super 100 millionaires, super young billionaires, they took those crazy risks earlier in their life because time is the thing that is scarce, not money. You kind of understand that? I think that in these 10-year periods, I always think in these 10 and 15-year periods, because those are the only things that make sense. The actions that are going to make me money 6 months from now or 2 years from now don't make sense over the course of the next 10 years. So you working that comfortable, cushy corporate job for the next 3 to 5 years to gain experience is pretty stupid when you zoom out and look at it from a 10-year perspective. What you need to do is get 3 to 6 months of experience in something, really understand how it works, and leap out of your comfort zone into the crazy thing that you actually want to work on. It's not going to work over the next 12 months. It's probably not going to work over the next 24 months, but the time that you invest and the challenges that you overcome over the next 10 years are going to pay off immensely. Another thing that's a horrible mistake is trying to mimic and copy other people. It's good to learn and take some things from others and apply some things from other business owners and entrepreneurs, but don't try to copy somebody who's successful because it's not going to work. Don't get caught in the loop of trying to do things just because other people are doing them. When I was in college, I was so caught up with trying to get my business off of the ground, and I literally didn't have time, as I kind of explained in other videos. I was so busy working on homework, and I was so busy studying for tests. I was trying to stay consistent with my workouts, and I would see all these other students that were part of these extracurricular activities. They were part of these organizations. They were part of Greek life, and I felt so weird and out of place, almost like I didn't belong because I wasn't doing these other extracurricular things that other students were doing. I kind of felt like I was missing out on a lot of stuff. But Early on in college, I really tried to fit in and I wanted to have these other experiences because other people were doing them. I felt like I was missing out and I wasn't part of the whole college experience. So I actually ended up joining a fraternity. But a couple weeks of being in it, I realized that I was just massively playing to my weaknesses. And the reason why I couldn't focus and double down on what I actually wanted to do is because I would see other people and I would try to mimic them and copy them and do what they were doing because I kind of just wanted to fit in and I wanted to be like these people that were cool and popular in college. And I mean, that was a huge mistake. So I just recommend like double down on your weirdness and what makes you you. And doing this is going to tell you the direction that you need to be kind of going. And that's kind of just what I figured out. Another thing is that in your 20s, you want to feel successful in your own way. You want to feel good about yourself. You want to feel like you made it. You want to celebrate even when you haven't really done much. You have to understand that if you're always chasing this feeling of wanting to feel good in your 20s, whether that's constantly smoking, constantly partying, constantly drinking alcohol or going out in order to just feel that sensation, you're kind of just starting to understand how life actually works. And you start seeing a little bit of success in your own way, but you're still chasing that sensation of wanting to feel good. And feeling good is actually the biggest sign that you're actually going in the wrong direction. It's like you have this excess amount of energy and you also have this excess amount of creativity. But the flaw is that you think you have a ton of time. You just end up as this extremely powerful force that's going in 10 different directions, all of which are the wrong direction. And it's like this thing that's just waiting to explode and set on fire. So that's my best advice if you want to get extremely rich in your 20s. There's no specific business hack or get rich overnight tricks or gimmicks or anything like that. If you're in your early 20s or I mean, hell, even if you're in your early 30s and you focus on getting good at making money and you follow everything that I laid out on this video, you're going to get very good at something and you're going to be very confident in your ability to make money that it's going to come just like that. If you like videos like this, make sure to comment down below and let me know what you think about this video. If you like this type of content, advice, businessy type financial videos, make sure to follow me on Instagram because I tend to post really cool things on there. I'll like drop it here for you guys. But yeah, that's basically it. I will see you guys in the next video. Later.